Hello viewers, welcome to Newsweek South Asia, a program that talks about breeding of terrorism and its impact on South Asian nations. Let's begin with the headlines first. Kashmiri separatist Yasin Malik gets life term for terror funding. Maharashtra anti-terrorism squad arrests Lashkar-e-Taiba recruiter from Pune. And continued attacks targeting civilians in Afghanistan. Let's begin the show with India, where a special court sentenced Kashmiri separatist Yasin Malik to life in jail in a terror funding case. Malik had earlier pleaded guilty to all the charges, including those under Stringent Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, in a terror funding case. The case against Yasin Malik pertained to the Pakistan-based terror organization Lashkar-e-Taiba chief Hafiz Saeed and other separatist leaders' conspiracy to raise, receive and collect funds domestically and from abroad for the separatist and terrorist activities in Jammu and Kashmir. A report. From a Pakistan-trained militant to one of the prominent separatist faces in Kashmir, life has come a full circle for Chief of the banned Jammu and Kashmir Liberation Front, Yasin Malik. Over the past 3 decades, he has been in the limelight for varied reasons in Jammu and Kashmir. The 56-year-old separatist has been in and out of jail several times, but recently, a national investigation agency court in Delhi awarded him life imprisonment in the 2017 terror funding case, saying his crimes were intended to strike at the heart of the idea of India. The court also imposed a fine of over Rs 10 lakh on Malik. Malik was convicted in a Jammu and Kashmir terror funding case after he pleaded guilty to the charges against him. The case was registered for raising, receiving and collecting funds through various illegal means, including hawala transactions, for funding separatist and terrorist activities in Jammu and Kashmir.
For all his protestations of wanting Kashmiri independence, it turns out that Yasin Malik is just hand in glove in the ISI like we all knew. What we need to remember is the ISI uses this sort of separatism question, that is the independence of Kashmir from both India and Pakistan, essentially to weaken any sections that oppose it. Remember, maybe say 1/3 support joining Pakistan, 1/3 support joining India, 1/3 support independence. If you keep saying Pakistan, Pakistan, you'll have a 66% vote against you. So this entire campaign for independence has been orchestrated by Pakistan.
Malik has without a doubt been one of the notorious players in Kashmir. His cases date back to several decades, and over the years he has successfully dodged the law while continuing to propagate in favor of Pakistan. The cases against him are not ordinary. They range from acts of terror causing unrest and abduction. In fact, a 3 decades old case in which he was accused of killing Indian Air Force officials was also reopened. His organization, Jammu and Kashmir Liberation Front, was also involved in the kidnapping and killing of Ravindra Matre, an Indian diplomat posted in the UK in 1984. Yasin's name has cropped up in terror funding case since 1995. In 2019, Jammu and Kashmir Liberation Front was banned by the government of India for promoting secession of the reorganized Union Territory. He had also been accused by the National Investigation Agency of orchestrating protests in 2016, during which 89 cases of stone peltings were reported. Malik was also the mastermind behind the purging of Kashmiri Pandits from the Kashmir Valley and was responsible for their genocide, in which hundreds of Pandits were killed, raped and tortured in a way that country had never seen before. He led the mobs in destroying and burning government buildings and schools and in attacking security forces.
हम पिछले 32 क्या 36 साल से इस परेशानी में है कि हमने जो हमारा जो ये पलायन हुआ या जो हमारी जो हत्याएं हुई है, इनकी जिम्मेवार यही है। हमारी उनके साथ साथ जो भी वहाँ कश्मीर में जो भी किसी भी कौम का जो भी हत्या हुई है या इस ऐसी जनरेशन को नई जो यंग जनरेशन उसको इसमें धकेला गया है, उसके जिम्मेवार यही लोग हैं। तो हम चाहते थे कि सज़ा कुछ और हो, मगर न्यायालय के हिसाब से जो सज़ा हुआ है ये खाली टेरर फाइंडिंग में हुआ है। अभी उनके ऊपर बहुत सारे केसेस हैं, जिसमें लसाकोल की हत्या है, जिसमें ये है नीलकंठ गज्जू की हत्या है। वो किसने मारा है, कौन थे वो? यही लोग थे। तो इन्होंने तो JKL का डंडा वहाँ वो ये झंडा उठाया था, इन्होंने तो यही फंडिंग की थी, इन्होंने तो पाकिस्तान के साथ राब्ता रखा था, इन लोगों ने सब कुछ किया था।
Yasin has always maintained that he is proud of the fact that he took up the gun because without that, the Kashmir issue would not have gained attention. Not even once, he has expressed remorse for his actions and never condemned the reign of terror unleashed by other terror groups. In the name of freedom struggle, Yasin Malik has set up an elaborate structure and mechanism across the world to raise funds. Recent weeks in Kashmir have witnessed a spike in targeted killings of Kashmiri Hindus, and most of them were shot by hybrid terrorists. They are the unlisted radicalized persons who carry out terror strikes and slips back into their routine life. Security forces are considering them as a new threat and challenge in the valley. Recently, Jammu and Kashmir police apprehended 5 hybrid terrorists of the Lashkar-e-Taiba terror outfit. These arrests were made during separate police actions. 2 of them were held with arms and ammunition in the Srinagar city, while the rest 3 were from Baramulla.
Ever since targeted civilian killings rattled Jammu and Kashmir, the region has been hearing about a new kind of combatant known as hybrid militants. Security forces in Kashmir are facing a new challenge on the militancy front: the presence of hybrid militants who are not listed as ultras but persons radicalized enough to carry out a terror strike and then slip back into the routine life, often without leaving any trace. Over the past few weeks, the attacks on soft targets in the valley have witnessed a spike. Most of these incidents have been carried out by the pistol-born youth who are not listed as militants with the security agencies. Recently, J&K police apprehended 3 hybrid terrorists in the Baramulla district. The 3 of them, Noor Muhammad Yatu, Muhammad Rafiq Pare, Ashik Hussain Pare, had links with the Sarpanch killing last month on April 15. The arrested trio was in contact with Muhammad Afzalon, an on-ground worker of the Lashkar-e-Taiba outfit, who is presently in judicial custody.
A lot of hard work. We've been able to crack this conspiracy which went into the killing of the PRIs and targeting soft targets, especially in Patan area. In this, we have arrested 3 hybrid terrorists. These terrorists have been planning this conspiracy for almost 6 to 7 months now, and the current case has links. Late last year, around late October, there was a grenade attack in Palhalan on the National Highway, and that case was cracked within 12 days.
There are some challenges with regard to hybrid terrorism. Identifying hybrid terrorists is a big challenge, and to arrest them or stop them from doing any unlawful activities. If that's not possible, then neutralizing them in encounters is a big challenge. Security officials in Jammu and Kashmir say that hybrid terrorism could pose a biggest challenge for year 2022. They are spreading their network all across the valley. Recently, 2 hybrid terrorists were arrested by the Srinagar police. The terrorists belong to the Lashkar-e-Taiba outfit, and a huge cache of arms and ammunition was recovered from them.
कल दिन में श्रीनगर पुलिस टेक्निकल इनपुट से एक ऑपरेशन लॉन्च किया था छानपुरा श्रीनगर के आउटस्कर्ट एरिया में। तो उसमें एक आमिर गनी है हाइब्रिड टेररिस्ट, जिसका ऑनलाइन कोड मूसा है, उसके घर पर छापा मारा गया। तो वहाँ से 2 टेररिस्ट को पकड़े हम लोग। उसके पास से 15 पिस्टल, 30 मैगजीन और 300 के राउंड एम्यूनिशन और एक साइलेंसर मिला है.
The new trend is happening in the valley on the directions of Pakistan and its spy agency, the ISI. The desperate nexus is modifying methods and the aim is to spread fear and stop businesses in the region. Hybrid militants target and silence voices that are speaking against separatism and against the perpetrators and instigators of violence. Security officials say that such a type of target is never random. It involves watching movement patterns and finding a weak part of the routine. The spotter could be someone who is not on the police list but has a pistol and intent to kill, just like a mercenary shooter paid to kill a target. Hence, authorities in Kashmir need to tackle the situation from multiple angles. Jammu and Kashmir police and security forces have to work in synergy as hard intelligence is required to tackle the situation. There is an urgent need to break the chain of these attacks.
In what can be termed as one of the biggest crackdowns by an Indian agency in busting the recruitment model of the banned terror outfit Lashkar-e-Taiba through the use of social media, Maharashtra Anti-Terrorism Squad recently arrested 28-year-old Junaid Mohammed from Pune. Junaid's case throws light on the new modus operandi of Lashkar-e-Taiba for recruiting youths from outside Jammu and Kashmir, which involves the extensive use of social media. A report. The Pune unit of the Maharashtra Anti-Terrorism Squad has arrested a man who was allegedly in contact with terror operatives from Jammu and Kashmir through phone messenger groups and was also alleged to have received money for terror-related activities. The ATS identified the man as Junaid Mohammed, who is in his early 20s. ATS officials claim that they have investigated a phone messenger-based group titled Ansar Ghazwat ul Hind Tawheed, in which several anti-national terror-related activities were discussed and planned since 2021. Ansar Ghazwat ul Hind is the name of a faction known to have affiliations to Al-Qaeda, and the Lashkar-e-Taiba is known to have the links with the faction.
Just 3 days back, the Junaid Mohammed, whoever has been caught on the things. How long he's been staying here? What was he doing here? Who gave him the shelter? Who gave him the food? Who gave him the protection? From where he got the instruction? All these things to be checked. Who was calling him? And he was not here for pilgrimage. He was here to plan for a terrorist activities. We should not forget that on Jangli Maharaj Road, there was a bomb blast. German bakery, which is just 800 meters from my house, there was a bomb blast here, the bomb attack. And these are the people. We should also not forget that our own chief of the army staff, General Vaidya, was killed here.
According to the Maharashtra Anti-Terrorism Squad, Mohammed Junaid got training in POK's Muzaffarabad and he was engaged in recruiting members for the outlawed Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorist outfit. He had been tasked to misguide, brainwash and create anti-national feelings among selected youth and recruit them as the member for the LE team. Moreover, Junaid was also trying to procure arms for the LET and he had done recce of some places. Junaid's case throws lights on the new modus operandi of Lashkar-e-Taiba for recruiting youths from outside Jammu and Kashmir, which involves the extensive use of social media. For terror groups, communication over social media is cheaper, easier, faster and effective method of training and recruitment. Indian security forces have come to know that members of Lashkar-e-Taiba and other terror outfits are using high-tech technologies and new techniques in their operations. These groups are using these networks to recruit tech-savvy younger generation. The group's latest effort towards this objective have been told a series of workshops on exploiting social media for spreading their ideology and create social movements. The group's latest effort towards this objective have been to hold a series of workshops on exploiting social media for spreading their ideology and create social movements. The goal is to create an army of social media activists which can be used as a proxy to achieve the terrorist group's objectives. Terrorism using the social media has become one of the most concerning issues in India.
These platforms have become very useful to the terrorist organization. The other thing is the mechanism of the so-called social media. It is playing havoc. Al-Qaeda does not operate in the name of Al-Qaeda. They create number of organizations. So even if you get hold of one person or somebody and his organization, the remaining will remain. The remaining will remain. You cannot reach them. Where is the headquarters of Al-Qaeda? They're all operating in Pakistan. Some may be Lashkar-e-Toiba, other people also operating from there. They're operating in Afghanistan. They're operating from Middle East. So these are the linkages. And we have to be careful. We have to be careful.
While the primary area of operations of the Lashkar-e-Taiba is Jammu and Kashmir, the outfit has carried out attacks in other parts of India, including in New Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Varanasi, Kolkata and Gujarat. The Lashkar's agenda, as outlined in the pamphlet titled "Why Are We Waging Jihad?" includes the restoration of Islamic rule over all parts of India. Further, the outfit seeks to bring out a union of all Muslim majority regions in countries that surround Pakistan. Indian security agencies have to break the network of LET using all their high-tech tools. Let's shift our focus to Afghanistan, where the situation is tense as the country has been witnessing a spate of attacks in the past few weeks. Scores of Afghan civilians have been killed in bomb blasts, some of which have been claimed by the Islamic State. A report.
Since the Taliban returned to power in August last year, a string of deadly bombings and a number of violent public attacks have convulsed the country. On May 22, an explosion occurred in the vicinity of Police District 10 in the capital city of Afghanistan. At least 3 people have been injured in the blast. The blast took place when a gathering was mourning the death anniversary of the Taliban's former leader Mullah Akhtar Muhammad Mansoor, which was being held in the same vicinity. No group has claimed responsibility for the attack. Just a few days ago, on May 19, an attack on the Taliban convoy occurred in Mazar-e-Sharif in Afghanistan's Balkh province. The explosion was caused by a magnetic mini-explosion, and the responsibility for the blast was claimed by Tehreek-e-Azadi Afghanistan.
There are several places in Afghanistan itself where more extreme elements are running amok. And these extreme elements, to a great extent, are being supported by elements of the Pakistani deep state. And I'm referring to the ISIS. Why is this so? It is so because the Afghan Taliban has not been 100% subservient to the Pakistani deep state as the Pakistanis thought they would. And therefore they need leverage. Somebody that is opposed to the Pakistani Taliban, the Afghan Taliban, so as to keep them off balance. So the ISIS has a considerable footprint in Afghanistan. It has support from the Pakistanis, and I dare say some elements of the Afghan Taliban also support the ISIS.
The war-torn country has witnessed a series of terror attacks staged by the Islamic State group in the last few weeks. Just before Eid, a powerful explosion killed more than 50 worshippers at a mosque located in the west of Kabul. Attacks against civilians targeting ethnic and religious minorities represent a disturbing trend in Afghanistan. The Taliban say they have secured the country since taking power in August and largely eliminated the Islamic State's local offshoot. But international officials say the risk of a resurgence in terrorism remains. Many analysts say these attacks are the result of the irresponsible withdrawal of US troops last year, which promised to restore peace for the Afghan people.
The sudden withdrawal of the American troops and the manner in which it was done the manner in which they undercut the Afghan regime and the Afghanistan National Army created a situation where there was a complete vacuum. I don't think even the Taliban thought it would be so easy to take over. So on paper, while it looked that the takeover of the Taliban of Afghanistan was complete, in the absence of any orderly transfer of power or sharing of power, there has been a vacuum. And this vacuum is clearly evidenced in the fact that whenever the ISIS wants, it is targeting Shias, it's creating bomb blasts, etc.
On one hand, Afghanistan faces an endless threat of terrorism. On the other hand, the country finds itself gripped by the severe restrictions imposed by the Taliban. The hardliners deprived millions of Afghan women of their right to education, ousted tens of thousands of women from jobs, and banned women's businesses and all sorts of activism. Today, they have crushed the women of Afghanistan and have plunged them into the dark ages again. The Afghan woman has now lost even the right to life. Not only are the women in Afghanistan suffering, but more than 90% of Afghans have been facing a shortage of food. For them, the next meal is a matter of faith. People in Afghanistan had dreamed of peace and an end to conflicts to improve their situation, but not at the cost of losing the last 20 years of achievements. It seems that the forever war in Afghanistan is nowhere near its end.
And with that, we come to the end of this edition of Newsweek South Asia. We will be back next week with more news, views and analysis from the subcontinent. Meanwhile, do keep writing to us at nwsa@anin.com. This is Shivangi Mishra signing off on the behalf of the entire production team of Newsweek South Asia. Goodbye and take care.